Yeah, that's right. We are back in the back garden shed for another one of these live streams. Oh my gosh, we're almost at the 9,000 mark, so I think close enough to warrant the live stream. We've come preloaded with a few questions this evening, and I've set up a Patreon page and a Discord server. And Patreon Joe Meredith is asking the first question, and that is there any plans for a new backyard mini ramp? And the answer is yeah, there are a few plans in place. It's currently winter here in the UK, and oh my gosh, it is the 50-year storm. Woo. So probably not for the outdoors as yet, but I am converting the garage. So I was thinking of building the Nippers a backyard micro ramp in the garage that hopefully stop any noise problems and also any rain problems. I've also built a mini ramp inspired bed, so a bed that's got micro ramp capabilities, and I'm putting together a video about that process as we speak. Anybody that follows me on the Instagram at John Bishop Skate will have seen my Nipper JJ razzing around on his micro ramp bed, and oh my goodness, it's a lot of fun. So that's the closest we've come to a backyard mini ramp plan. I hope that answers your question, Joe. Anybody that's new to this format of live streaming, it's basically me waffling for an hour, hopefully prompted and steered by your good selves. I've got a little cup of tea here. I'm sure you've got your own beverages at home. Hope you're wedged into the sofa. Ray Guzman is, hey, can you explain your board setup, specifically what wheels and Duros? I will gladly talk skateboard setup, for it is a passion of mine. Let us grab something from here. This is the Andy Anderson deck, 9.14, I believe. I've got the Slimeline Santa Cruz rails on it, the independent trucks 159 wide, and then it's got the upgraded bushings, uprated, medium bones hardcore bushings, and then the wheels are by Spitfire, and they're the OG Classics Formula 4s, and the bearings in there I think are big ball bearings, because I like a set of big balls. And that is it. No risers, straight onto the deck. My Bowley carving setup does have 8-inch risers on, just so I can get these trucks a bit looser, but this is the one that I use predominantly for the vertical ramp at Mount Hawk. And I tend to find, because I'm going so jolly fast across that flat bottom, I don't want any squirreling and squiggling, so I set these quite tight for me, and that negates the need for a riser. So yeah, pop that back. I've got other oddities that I like to ride, and regular viewers will know this. I've got this rather fun 80s sort of setup. This is the Kendall, and you can see this is more like the bowl setup I was talking about, so it's got the 1/8 riser in and the loose trucks, and that just allows the carving and turning. But I love this thing, it's just a lot of fun. It's got like a little 2-stage kicker on the tail and virtually no nose, and a lovely big pad for the foot to land on. Oh my gosh, lovely. Got some other idiosyncrasies, such as the freestyle board, which is obviously smaller, the 70s original board, which is only 6 inches wide, and then the long board, which is good for the downhill. And it's also pretty fun in the bowl as well. Oh, Jed, Warren Leeds, it's hot and sunny here in Australia. I'm about to check out the surf and grab a coffee. Yeah, that's right. Well, that sounds ideal. Robbie, rain in New Hampshire. Snow will come soon. Best indoor park has just closed. Oh, sorry to hear that, dude. Harvey Pemble. Matt Pemble and Mike Waters watching from Corfmullen. Oh my goodness. Corfmullen is the skate park that features in some of my earliest videos. Big up for dropping in on Mount Hawk. It's a beast. It is indeed quite a large ramp. Coachy Coach is in. Hi Coachy Coach. Hi John. Any advice for regaining confidence post-injury? It's funny you should ask that, Coachy Coach, because I am currently injured. I've torn my hamstring in an unfortunate kite surfing accident. Oh dear. I was going across a wave and the sort of bottom dropped out of it. It got a bit sucky, and I came down with 1 foot off the board and 1 foot on the board. Front foot was still on the board, and I did the old John Cleese splits, and I managed to tear my hamstring. It's black and blue at the moment. Anybody that follows the Instagram will have seen a picture. I've been eating a lot of kale, a lot of curly kale just for the vitamins. Anything basically to get this leg to heal quicker. Just willpower, oh, come on. I've also got a big support bandage on it. I'm taking the ibuprofen. I'm doing a bit of stretching. I went for a little skate the other day and it wasn't quite as good as I imagined it would be. I was sort of hoping I was being a big wuss and that the injury wasn't as bad as I thought. But because it's on my front leg, I find that my front leg takes a lot of the brunt of dropping in and a lot of the brunt of sort of carving and things like that. I've found that when I've become injured on a back or a front leg, it's made me very aware of how much weight that leg takes when you're doing various tricks. And I've got to say, I'd rather injure my back leg, I think, from experience. So the front leg injury, which is what I've done on the hamstring, is particularly upsetting. Jumbo Films, seen your latest Flatland freestyle tricks. Nice. Did you ever struggle getting your back foot landing back on the board when trying shove-its, Casper stool type tricks? My back foot always lands on the ground. I would say that, yeah, there is definitely a time when you commit to landing both feet on the board. And that's the one where all hell breaks loose and you realise that your body needs to be in a different position. Generally, I land both feet on the board and tend to loop out, either forwards or backwards. And as soon as I've looped out, I know that I need to commit. And it's nearly always that I just haven't committed on top of the board, because that feels quite dangerous to flip the board and land right back on the top of it. But of course, that's what needs to happen for that said trick to work. So yeah, I would say landing with one foot on the board is essential, especially when you're doing like kick flips and things like that. If you can, and it's almost like you've done the trick really, if you can land with one foot on the board, you're pretty much there. So yeah, it's just commitment, I guess. But I like to build it in stages. I've got a little rug and I do it on a rug, and then I go out and do it on rougher concrete, and then eventually on the smooth concrete, which proves to me that maybe I can sort of do it. But I do like a bit of the Flatland stuff. I'm not exactly built for it. I'm 6'3", gangly and clumsy, and I look ridiculous on the freestyle board, which is only 7 inches wide and not very long in the wheelbase, but it is a lot of fun. Conor Oz, I'm watching from Bristol. It would be sick to see you skate Dina and some of the local spots if you've ever been in the area. Yeah, I'd like to come up to Bristol. I will be up there soon, dude. I wish I hadn't damaged this leg. I had a UK tour planned, a skate tour, because I play guitar for a living and I'm booked on a music live tour. And I was going to, alongside when I did the gigs in the evening, I was going to do a skate park in the afternoon and then sort of vlog the progress around, maybe do a trick per skate park or something like that. I had loads of different ideas, but it's all gone to the wayside now because my leg won't work. You and Kirby, ever skated the Vert ramp at Skater Room? Way more manageable than Mount Hawk. That thing is the size of the Shard. I haven't. I had it planned with my good friend Neil Hester, who's another skateboarding YouTube maniac. I was going to skate Caterham with Neil on Tuesday, but again, sounding like a broke record, but it won't work unfortunately this time out. I was thinking of going up there and just having a document of said vert ramp in a church, because it's got a definite filmic quality to it, and there are dudes there that will shred that thing. So perhaps I'll do a little docu-soap based around the goings on of a vert ramp in a church on Tuesday. The channel is nearly 2 years old now. Oh my gosh. And we are nearly 9,000 strong, which is humbling. And it's been such a positive experience meeting and talking to all of you, and been so much support coming back. It's really helped me. A lot of guys have taken the time to give me tips and suggest things. So keep that coming. Hopefully the Discord server will streamline that process. I find that there's quite a lot of social media platforms and all of their direct messaging is pretty clunky, so I do worry that I miss people's messages. Ashley Morton, hello, was skating 32 in the summer with my pal and he broke his wrist after falling from about 2 feet high. I've not been out on my board since. It's proper put me off. Any tips on how to get back to it? That's a great question, Ashley. Yeah, I think that would put anybody off, and I do find personally the worst slams are from skateboard high. So my worst nightmare at 6'3", 47 years old is falling just onto the flat ground. And I think I also got my worst injury doing that, which was a shoulder injury, because I fell so hard onto my shoulder on the flat ground. I didn't have chance to put my arm out to stop me. I just poof. But as a guitar player, I use like D30 wrist guards, and touch wood, I've never broken my wrists, and I am a beginner skateboarder, and I do some fairly stupid stuff considering I am a beginner skateboarder, like skate a 13.5-foot vert ramp, and I've never luckily injured my wrists, and I believe that is probably because I do wear wrist protection. Warren, what do you do in the way of exercise to keep up with your skateboarding sessions? Yeah, nice one was, I skate as much as I can, so I find I'm very fatigued in the legs and the thighs, so I do gym workouts on the upper body. I saw a thing with Joe Rogan, who's very good on the workout stuff, and he was saying as you get into your middle age, basically the weight training is really good to maintain bone density, and I'm thinking bone density for a skateboarder is a pretty good idea. So a bit of curly kale, a bit of weight training for the bone density. And I also got a good tip from Greg Nowick, who's vert skater extraordinaire, and he said that running is very good for vert skating because it's obviously very cardiovascular. So when the hamstring's in good order, I do a bit of 5k and 10k jogging, and I also do the surfing, water stuff, and then I do the skateboarding and I do the weight training. So between all those things, it's pretty much as you'd be able to do. Getting out of bed is pretty emotional and pretty aching, but I find the yoga and the stretching really helps get rid of a lot of the lactic acid, and also eating good foods and staying hydrated, all the stuff that everybody knows about. Wayne is going, you? Ooh. James Leakey is saying, hi John, how's the Ollie Blunt coming on? Yeah, the Ollie Blunt. Oh, to be honest with you, the blunt that I'm going for, the blunt fakie is going to be the little nose grabby one, just pull it in to start with, and I'm still working towards that. I've done pretty much every trick other than that one, sort of procrastinating around the edges. I did do one session on the blunt fakie with the little nosy pull-in, and I was disappointed with myself because I just kept jumping off. I couldn't commit to both feet on the board coming in backwards. So I keep rethinking it. I came up with a plan to do a little foot plant fakie back in, bean plant, I think one would call it. Anything to give me more confidence of that movement coming back in. But I was thinking as well, I might try it on a curb, just do a little blunt fakie on a curb. There's been other tricks like it where I've had a blockage, like front side axle stalls, or stuff where you're coming in and it's scary, and there's got to be one time where you just commit to it, and then once you've done it and you fall off, you're like, oh brilliant, I can do it. Harvey Pemble, hi, Matt Pemble and Mike Waters catching up from Corfu Melon. You actually point me in the right direction to getting my first board back in April, and I'm still loving it. Nice one, nice one, dude. JLTJ, loving the midlife stoke you're bringing, mate. My haggard body needs a lot of inspiration these days, but your channel is helping to feed it. Oh, nice one, dude. I'm glad to hear that. Warren Leeds. North Queensland. Excellent. That is a nice spot. Yeah, I went up that way. I did the whole of the East Coast on a trip in the year 2000. I had long blonde hair then. You wouldn't believe it. And it all fell out. Not because of that trip. At the end of that trip, I got it all cut off. If the grass stops growing, you got to start mowing. And I went into a barber shop in Australia and said, oh, can I just have it all shaved off? It was about nipple length, but I'm sure it had spiders and stuff growing in it. It was pretty horrible, surfy locks. And the lady said, oh, are you sure? And I was like, yeah. And she goes, I've always wanted to do this. And she got a grade 1 set of clippers and sheared me like a sheep. and I sort of had like a friar tuck because I've got pattern baldness in the top of my head, whereas the sides are sort of okay. So I sort of looked a little bit like a monk, or the top bit didn't grow. And she shaved it all off. And she said, oh, do you want to keep it? And I was like, no. It was horrible. Warren, I was playing gigs in Queensland in the year 2000, and funnily enough, now my hair is all falling out as well. Oh dear. Jack Horsey is saying, what made you start your YouTube channel? The main reason was a purely selfish one, and that was to aid my progression and I guess force myself into progressing. because I was hell-bent on being able to learn to skateboard, and pretty much from the first session of skateboarding I knew that I loved it, and I knew that I had to get better at it yesterday. I knew that I was up against it time-wise a little bit because I started skating when I was 44. So it seemed like a bit of a silly project, but I've got quite a contrarian mind, and I thought, yeah, I'm not going to take no for an answer. This is definitely going to happen. So I guess I started the YouTube channel about a year in, because I found that I progressed to a point where I could sort of surf on concrete, because I've got a surf background. So I found that I could ride around a bowl. I sort of learned to carve and pump and grind on the coping and do that sort of stuff, but I wasn't progressing at the tricks. I couldn't get over my fear of doing lip tricks and rock fakies and axle stalls and things like that. And I found I needed more incentive to do so. So I did a few little videos. If you check out the start of the channel, and they're truly dreadful. I mean, it's YouTube at its worst, because I didn't know what I was doing. But they're purely videos where I talk to the camera about what I'm going through, and I legitimately learn the trick during the video. So you can see all the falling off and the carry-ons, and I try and explain how it feels. It was really exciting to be able to go to the park and learn a trick and film it and then put the video out. But I did find there was a flaw in the plan, and the flaw in the plan was just by doing, you know, had to get one make, otherwise the video wouldn't be releasable. So the whole procedure would have been a waste of time. So I tried to make one make, but I found that that sometimes took so long in a session that I just do the one and that was it. So if you check out those early videos, it literally is one make. I found subsequently that it's far better to continually make loads of them, do as many as you can, and then go back and do another session. Otherwise you haven't learned anything. Just moving from one trick to the next, making one, you haven't learned, and you certainly can't retain that and do that at all. Lewis, hello from Alicante in Spain. Hi Louis, you all right, mate? Love your channel, John. Daily yoga for 3.5 years has been a game changer for me. Indeed, Surf Freak, I would heartily recommend the yoga. The wife has a wonderful yoga channel that runs alongside this channel, and we've sort of cross-pollinated. There is a yoga video where she takes me through a skating yoga routine, so you might want to check that one out, and you'll see me grimacing and complaining and whinging about wanting to go surfing halfway through. Graham, have you been back to St Ives skate park since the video? How did you find the bowl? Yeah, I have been back. Yeah, since moving down, I've been back. I've been in the fortunate position to be able to surf at Gwythian Beach, and just a little bit further on is St Ives skate park. You can actually see St Ives when you're on Gwythian's Beach, so it's not a massive trip. And I do like the pool at St Ives. I have to say it's a little bit steeper and a little bit gnarlier than the one at Concrete Waves. So the one at Concrete Waves, I find you can have a little bit of a potter, and it will give you a keen reminder if you disrespect it. But the one at St Ives is no messing about. There's no sort of favourable way in, because the shallow end is so steep that the safest way in is the deep end, and the deep end is still pretty full on. So yeah, for me at my level, it's not the sort of comfy no pads cruiser. Will Paris, yo, my leg is killing me. I'm sort of at the moment perched like a giraffe taking a drink at the watering hole with one leg out to the side, and I'm sort of on a drum stool with one buttock, and it's the only way I can keep it comfortable. I wasn't going to stand up for an hour on this hamstring. Hello from the Western USA. Thanks for the great videos. Have you thought of doing more into depth with setups and preferences, or doing product reviews? Yeah man, I definitely would. I've done quite a few sneaky videos in the back catalogue on setups, and I have to say it's one of my more fun things to do, because I do like the gear and the kit. So yeah, I think if you check back, each of these boards has been covered in some sort of producty way. I did a how hard was it skating a bowl in the 70s on the 70s board, and I did a little review of the Waltz skateboard, and this is a guy called Mike Osterman, who has a fantastic YouTube channel based around freestyle skateboarding. So obviously the Andy Anderson, I've done a couple of setup videos on the Andy Anderson deck. And then this bad boy at the bottom, on my all-time favourites, is the JM Duran longboard. And I did a video on that, just learning moves, downhill moves and street moves on a longer wheelbase setup. So yeah, you might want to go back. Oh, hello, Will's saying, what music gets you hyped to skate? This is a great question. Yeah, being a musician, I naturally sort of hate background music. So it's a bit of a paradox really, but sometimes I'm only too happy to have a bit of silence because I deal with music all the time. Having said that, I was surprised about what music I did enjoy skateboarding to, because I thought, you know, I quite like heavy music and guitar music, and it just didn't suit my style of skateboarding because I wasn't good enough to skate in a thrash metal or a punk way. I was cruising around the bowl at 5 miles an hour doing turns and pumps. So I found for that, the playlist I put together was like Pink Floyd and more sort of surfy, lower tempo stuff that was quite mellow, and that seemed to work quite nicely. But now that I'm skating the Vert ramp, that seems a bit more hectic and a bit faster paced and more gone back to the Metallica and 80s sort of hair metal. Motley Crue seems to work really well at the Vert ramp. It's strange. I'm fascinated by how the music syncs up with the discipline of skateboarding, and I guess it's purely subjective. Calvers Richard, hello from France, love your content. Do you watch or listen to any podcast skateboard related stuff? I do. I'm a bit addicted to it. The things that got me into skateboarding was probably the Braille skateboarding channel, and I really liked Jeff Grosso, the Love Letters to Skateboarding, because it had such a biographical nature to it, and it was like the history of skateboarding there for you, done in a very colourful way. So I enjoyed that. And then I started watching Chad Caruso, who's been at it for many years, but I find Chad Caruso's got such a natural way on the video. And then more recently it's been the Jason Park, who's just really good YouTubey stuff. I think the Braille stuff has come really back into its own, and they've got like a really good gang, and they've been doing the Vert stuff, which is quite relevant to me. I watched Warren Leeds' channel. Warren was on here commenting earlier on. So you might want to check him out. There's another Australian guy who lives in Hawaii. It's called Raddy Skates. I quite enjoy watching his stuff because he's got a really nice style and he does more left field tricks. Ramon, hi from Holland. You got the best skate tutorials. How about a rock and roll board slide next? That's amazing. Yes, please, dude. Yeah, I'd love to do a rock and roll board slide. The real fly in the ointment for a rock and roll board slide is that I am rubbish at rock and rolls. Whereas I feel my board slides are okay, but I always do board slide to fakie. I've done a couple of videos on board slide to fakies. I did a video on learning the rock and roll, and I've recently revisited them and I've tried to get them better. And I think it's a case of that cycle. I'm not very good at doing rock and rolls, so I don't do them. And because I don't do them, I'm not very good at rock and rolls. It's that old chestnut. Matthew Robertson, full video coming on the feeble fakie or just the short? I'd be quite interested to see what you guys think of the short. It's quite tricky to get a lot of information into 1 minute. And I quite like being restricted in some ways because it really stretches you creatively. Like, oh, can I do a 1 minute video that actually is okay, you know? So another thing about the long videos is they do take a little bit more time to edit and put together. And also, I'm never sure about how long they'll end up being. And, you know, is it too long? Is it too much waffle? So there's something about the short format that makes you go, it's got to be a minute, that's it. You can't mess around. But yeah, the feeble fakie, I think, was quite binary. You either get hooked up on the way back in or you don't. So it was quite easy to put together the key points that I felt allowed me to make it. Hi from Brazil. Yeah, cheers mate, and congrats on the channel. Great info, nice one dude. Or at least, have you ever attempted to film a video where you're learning a new trick but unfortunately haven't mastered the trick by the end of the video? I have, Warren. I had to bin it because there's just no payoff. It would have been the worst video in the world. Just learned to blunt fakie, and at the end you go, oh no, can't do it. I'm seeing a technical difficulty happening at any point, so I'm going to love you and leave you and sign off. Thank you so much for the support, guys. Check out the Patreon, check out the Instagram at John Bishop Skate, and yeah, that's right. Let's make it stop. How do we make it stop?